Part 6 of making a walking game character using the ct.js engine. In part 5 we had the character moving around inside a rectangle but without running a walk cycle. In part 4 we briefly touched on the sprite sheets versus separate sprites, and that I have a preference for the separate sprites. I think I should however mention that the ct.js engine has a system for handling sprite sheets. So if you load a sprite sheet as a texture, ct.js will allow you to cut the texture up in columns and rows and run that as an animation. So if sprite sheets is what you want to do, that is something you would like to look into. I, however, will use single sprites, and I have had to figure out a system for making that work. The parts I need is a timer to control when an image for an object is to be changed, and a method to change the images. As I have sprites walking in 4 directions, I also need to define which direction will apply in a certain moment. We will do everything in the Templates tab. What we do will apply to all objects, copies, made using that template. For the timer, I simply use a variable that the program counts up for each frame, turning back to 0 at 60. For this kind of timer to work the way we want, we need to have a fixed frame rate. ct.js provides that, so we are fine there. So I declare the variable in the create function, set the start value to 0. In the frame start function we count up the variable for each iteration of the frame and set it back to 0 at 60. Simple and does the job. For direction we have this direction that gives us the direction that the object is moving, given in degrees, 0 to 360. So we make a variable, this dir, with 4 direction based on this direction. To change the image we can use this text, probably short for texture, and set that to the image or texture that we want to use. So there we have all the tools we need to run the walk cycles. I have set it up so that setting the texture is done at 0, 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50 according to the timer variable. So we have a change at every 10 frames. We could change at each frame by using if more than 50, or else if more than 40, or else if more than 30, and so on. But there is no real advantage in that for this walking. It would catch a change in direction between the checkpoints instead of only at the checkpoint, but that really would not be noticeable in this case. So at each checkpoint the image texture is set according to timer and direction. And that is pretty much it. The character will now walk around inside the rectangle with the walk cycles running in accordance with the direction the character is walking. Okay, it seems everything turned out fine. In the last video I talked about the origin point for images and how I have set them at a point at the character's feet rather than the default top left corner. I came to think that maybe setting the origin points this way for each image, texture, maybe was not the best way. Maybe we can do something in code, so let's test that. To do that, I start with setting the origin point back to the top left corner for each image texture. So, with the origin point at the top left, what I need to do is to go to the check if character's feet are outside the rectangle, and to add half the width of the texture to this X, and the height of the image to this Y. And now we got about the same result as adding the origin point in each texture, but only with this short bit of code. There will be more to this in other situations, but for this situation that will do. And for other situations there might still be better ways to do this than setting the origin points for each image when we have a lot of images. A few images, yeah, it's probably better to set the origin point for each image. I'll have to give this some thought. Anyway, this will be all for now. I plan to come back with something more on this subject, but has not yet decided on what to do next, so you will have to wait and see what it will be. I hope you will be back for that, and until then, bye.